When music gets hard, come see Professor Lee Euph.
Hey guys, I'm Professor Lee Euph, and today, for all those music majors that just had their first day of music theory, we're here to review and sum up what we just went over. I realize everyone's probably went over different stuff than like what I particularly did in theory, but this should just be a general review anyway. If I start going over stuff that you haven't even touched yet, that's fine. Come back to this video another time. Just make sure you already learn it, because this is just a review. I'm not actually particularly teaching anything in this video. It should be all what you've already went over. If you guys need me to make videos where I'm actually teaching these topics, that's fine. I can do that too. Just let me know. Anyway, so just to sum up, the main thing we went over today was just learning pitches, note pitches, which is just a fancy way of saying note name. So pitch equals name. So let's start with treble clef. Let's say you see a note on the line right here. Some people might know treble clef, some people might not. So for the ones that don't, you see the little curly Q here in the treble clef sign? This whole thing is circling one of these lines, which happens to be right here. That would be G. So another name for treble clef is the G clef, which again you guys should have learned today. So anywho, so we know that this note is now G. Basically, that's all you need to know. Because now, if I pick some other random note like up here, you should be able to figure that out no problem just using the basic music note alphabet we've went over from A to G. So G, you go up to A, B, C, D, and E. So we can figure out that note is E in treble clef. Same thing if you go down, let's say it's a note right under the staff down here. We just work our way down. So this is G, we know that. G, F, E, and D. That's what that goes down to in treble clef. Again, pretty straightforward stuff you guys should already went over. Now we move on to bass clef. Just give a couple examples. Again, for those of you that don't know bass clef too well, the two dots in the bass clef sign surround this line. This line would be F. So we put a note here. That would be F. So this is then called the F clef. So treble clef is the G clef. Bass clef is the F clef. Gotta remember. Anyway, so again, good review, hence why I'm doing these videos. I need the review myself. So anyway, so same process as with treble clef. If we know this is F, you can figure out any other note, any other place. So we pick this line, let's say, and we just count down. So F, E, D, C, B. So we know that would be B in bass clef. Simple as that. Now, there was one new clef that I specifically learned today in music theory that was called the C clef, or tenor clef as some people will call it. Well, it could be alto clef, tenor clef. It's all about where the clef sits. So you know how in treble clef this was surrounding this one line, so we knew where the starting note was, and in bass clef the two dots are surrounding this line, so we know where the starting dot is. Well, in this clef, it's where these two curves meet right here. So that's on this line. So this line would be, you guessed it, C, because this is the C clef. So the line where this circles is G, because it's the G clef. The line that these two circles encompass is the F, is the note F, because it's the F clef. And where the two curves come and meet the line in the middle would be C, because it's the C clef. So hopefully that makes some sense. Again, you guys should already went over it. Anywho, so same thing with this. If we just go to figure out what this note is, we go C, D, E. I'll try speeding this up a little bit because now I'm just kind of repeating myself. Anyway, another thing I learned about the C clef though is that it's a moving clef. So just because in this example these two curves merge right at this line that makes that C, that's great. But there's also instances where this will move up a line, or move down a line, or even up a couple lines. So let's say they converged at this line. You got your two curves coming down and they converge at this line. That makes this line C. whatever note is here would be C. A little confusing, but again, hopefully you guys already went over it. If you haven't, come back to this video when you have. This will make way more sense. Anywho, so it's all about figuring out where the starting note is, and then you can figure out any note outside of that. The last thing we basically touched on in music theory today was a little bit of like piano stuff kind of thing. Let's say you go to a piano and I say press C, the note C, right? The key C. There's like about 8 or 9 different ones. Unfortunately, I don't know that much about piano yet, so you have to bear with me. Anyway, so you wouldn't know what C to press. You don't know which one I'm talking about. So there is a special notation that we use to figure out which C is what. So let's say right here. So the trick is you want to find middle C. Wow, that wasn't even enough. Anyway, middle C. So in treble clef, the middle C would be, here's all 5 lines, 1 bar line, right under the last bar line would be middle C in treble clef. And then in bass clef, middle C would be if you go all the way to the top of the bar line and up another ledger line, that would be C here. So see how they kind of meet the same spot? It'd be the same thing as keys on a keyboard. You come up here, and this is where bass clef ends, right at middle C, and it's where treble clef picks up C, D, E, and go up from there. Okay? Anyway, hopefully it should just be a review. So basically we call this C4. You just got to remember it, honestly. The rest of these you can figure out once you remember that middle C is C4. So if I say press C4, you'll know to find middle C on the piano. Now, let's find what's the other C, an octave higher in treble clef. That would be placed right here. So imagine what we would call the C right above C4. Exactly, C5. And a C right above that, a couple ledger lines up, all the way up here in treble clef, would be C6. Let's go backwards. So now in bass clef we find the other C, which would be right here. If that's C4, that's C5, and that's C6, we go down, this would be C3. And go down a couple ledger lines, sorry my paper ran out, that would then be C2 all the way down on the bottom. So see how they all kind of work out, and like on a piano again, you'd have C2 down here, then you go up a couple notes, C3 up here, up some more notes, C4 there, and work it like that. You want to make sure you know your C4, C5, C6, all that notation, because it'll make it a lot easier once you put your theory to your piano. Because I don't know about you, but as a music major, you also have to know piano. So everything's going to work together. Oral skills, theory, and piano are all going to mesh together. So anyway, so that should just be the basic review for day 1 of theory. And I'll try to keep up on videos as to go through kind of day by day, so you guys always have a little something to review, something to look over besides just reading a textbook or doing worksheets. Anyway, see you guys, and good night.